You call this the age of freedom, yet you live on your knees before the altar of exposure. A new god has been erected, and its name is transparency. You strip yourselves naked in the public square, beg for attention, confess sins no one asked to hear, and then act surprised when the herd crucifies you with your own words. I say this: you are not free, you are voluntary prisoners of your own tongue. Mystery is power. Silence is a fortress. But you have opened the doors of your soul for the rats of morality to crawl inside. If you're hearing this now, stop for a second and tell me, from which city are you watching me while handing your secrets to this world, starving for weaknesses? Comment below. I want to know how far the whip of transparency has reached. Do not be deceived. This dictatorship of visibility is hell painted with light. They applaud those who bleed in public, only to savor the taste of the lynching afterward. Modern society doesn't want truth. It wants fresh meat. They tell you to be authentic, when in reality they're asking you to hand them ammunition to destroy you. And the worst part is you comply. You believe exposure is courage, that venting is noble. Cowardice disguised as virtue. The one who undresses too much does not inspire respect. He inspires contempt. If this truth already stings in the first minutes of this video, maybe you should leave now. But if you can bear to be torn apart by Nietzsche, like this video and keep watching. You call emotional strength what is nothing more than a public plea for affection. You whine to the crowd, turn your wounds into a spectacle, and wait for applause like a dog waits for bones. But power is not born from lament. It devours it. A man who parades his pain in public does not earn compassion, he earns disgust. The tragedy of our time is having turned vulnerability into social currency, as if being fragile in public were a virtue. No, I say this. True greatness is to silence your pain and forge it into steel, not a performance to beg for pity. Look closely at this sick society. It sold you the idea that talking heals, but what it really does is turn each of you into food for moral vultures. Every tear exposed is an invitation to contempt, and you even thank them when they throw you crumbs of false empathy. Let's be brutally honest. Power and self-pity cannot coexist. If you want to be feared, respected, admired, stay silent when the world expects your scream. Master yourself when they long to see you lose control. This is the first act of true freedom, refusing to become a public spectacle of misery for the herd. We live in the age of loose tongues, where every fool rushes to announce his plans, confess his dreams, and hand his weapons to the enemy before the battle even begins. They call it sharing, I call it strategic suicide. The strong man moves in silence, acts before explaining, triumphs before justifying. But you, children of haste and external validation, talk too much, reveal too much, offer your weaknesses wrapped in ribbons so others can wield them against you. Remember this: secrecy is a shield and silence is a sword. I watch this crowd, desperate for approval, always ready to expose themselves, to confess, to surrender, and I smile with contempt. You have not learned that every enemy needs only one misplaced word to destroy an empire. The noble man carries his plans in his chest, not on his tongue. The rush for recognition is poison. It kills opportunities, destroys alliances, and turns great destinies into dust. Stay silent, at least until you have something impossible to deny. Power does not beg to be validated. It imposes itself through silence. Gossip is the art of the impotent. It is the triumph of vermin who cannot rise without clinging to someone else's decay. To speak ill of the absent is to vomit your own weakness in public. The true dominator does not need to destroy others with words. His presence alone crushes rivals into shadows. Yet this age thrives on gossip, on the illusion of power through cheap slander. Know this: every time you spit poison about another man, you tattoo cowardice on your own forehead. Trust dies not in betrayal, but in the stench of petty tongues. A man who feeds on rumors rots from within, and everyone can smell it. Alliances crumble not because of enemies, but because the worms inside your circle chew through the foundations. Remember this, herd creatures: power builds in silence but falls through chatter. The king who tolerates gossip at his table has already handed his crown to fools. If this burns you, good. Truth is meant to sting. Stay. Comment below if you still have the courage to listen, and let Nietzsche strip the false nobility from your words. Consistency. the rarest currency in this marketplace of hollow men. Look around you. Promises thrown like confetti, words shifting with the wind, convictions sold for the price of applause. A man today does not know the weight of his own yes, nor the iron of his no. His language is foam, his vows are feathers. He bends, he twists, he adjusts his spine to fit the comfort of others. But listen to me. The will to power demands a backbone of stone, not the spineless fluidity of slaves. When a man cannot sustain the gravity of his word, he ceases to be a man. He becomes an echo, a shadow blown away by the slightest gust. Your authority dies not in defeat, but in self-betrayal. Every contradiction, every reversal of principle, every time you abandon your word to please another, you carve out your own throne and hand it to mediocrity. I have walked among men who thought themselves leaders, yet were puppets of their own fickleness. A true spirit stands firm even when the world gnashes its teeth against him. His word is a blade, cutting through hypocrisy, unmoved by the storms of opinion. If you cannot make your voice a pillar, it is better you remain silent than build castles on shifting sand. Mark these words well, for they are not comfort. They are a mirror you may not dare to face. Arrogance, the mask worn by the hollow soul desperate to appear taller than he is. I have seen men inflate themselves like cheap balloons, mistaking the noise of their vanity for thunder. They humiliate, they mock, they spit on others, believing this is power. But true power shines without a word. It does not need to trample. Its mere presence bends knees. The arrogant plant seeds of hatred they cannot harvest without blood. One day, the rope of resentment they spun with their own vanity will tighten around their necks. Arrogance is not strength, it is self-poison, slow but certain. The noble spirit has no need for cheap displays of superiority. He does not lower himself to provoke, to sting, to collect enemies like trophies. The weak crave an audience for their imagined greatness. The truly great walk alone, leaving awe in their wake. Arrogance breeds plots in the dark, whispers of vengeance, daggers waiting for your sleep. It is the folly of fools to create needless enemies when silence and calm dominion would suffice. Remember this, the sun does not shout to prove it burns, it simply sets the world on fire. And then there is rage, the great confession of impotence. Watch the man who explodes in fury, who screams, who thrashes like an animal caught in a trap. He thinks he is feared, but he is only pitied or despised. He has handed the strings of his soul to his enemy, who now dances him like a puppet. The modern world celebrates this weakness, calls it being passionate, but all I see is a man stripped of sovereignty over himself. The one who cannot master his own tempest will never command the storms of life. Remember this well, a God who roars has already fallen. Power lives in silence, heavy as a mountain. The true warrior does not bark when provoked. He stands still, unmovable, and in that calm, the enemy feels the weight of defeat before the battle begins. Rage is the currency of slaves, traded cheaply for fleeting satisfaction. But restraint, that divine force of an iron will, is priceless. A man who owns his fire commands the respect of gods and mortals alike. Lose control, and you are no more than a jester in the enemy's court. Tell me, you who listen now, how many times have you sold your power for the luxury of shouting? Admit it in the comments if you dare. And what of this pathetic hunger for approval that consumes you all? You live on the leash of public opinion, begging for smiles, hearts, likes, and hollow praises. Your worth is auctioned daily to strangers who care nothing for you. The herd has taught you that being loved is the highest goal, that to be accepted is to be alive. But the man who lives to be adored is no man. He is a slave to the moods of the crowd. I tell you this, the free spirit neither pleads for love nor fears hatred. He forges his own law, walks his own path, and lets the world choke on its own judgments. Approval is the chain around your neck, polished and sold as a virtue. You measure yourself not by your will, but by the applause of those too small to know greatness. The crowd loves what resembles itself. To be adored by it is to be nothing more than another sheep. True power does not need affection. It forces respect, admiration, or even hatred, but never dependence on others' smiles. If you truly wish to rise, stop asking the herd for permission to exist. Like, comment, share this truth if it cuts you deep. For a wound from Nietzsche is worth more than 1,000 kisses from liars. And then comes the artless lie, the pathetic, clumsy mask that slips at the first gust of wind. A lie is a tool, yes, but only in the hands of a master who can wield it like a blade without cutting himself. The weak lie poorly. Their deceit stinks of fear, of desperation, of a child caught stealing bread. When their mask falls, they lose not just the game, but the very illusion of strength they so desperately tried to sell. Credibility once shattered cannot be bought back. It rots like spoiled meat in the memory of men. If you cannot lie well, then do not lie at all, for nothing kills authority faster than a lie exposed. Power is theater, illusion, smoke and mirrors, but only the truly powerful know how to keep the audience blind. The fool who lies without skill rips his own curtains down, revealing his trembling hands behind the stage. A man who cannot protect his mask is unworthy of the game of power itself. The truth can be a weapon, the lie can be armor, but both demand artistry, control, intelligence. Without these, you are not feared, not admired, you are mocked. And a man mocked is already a corpse in the kingdom of influence. Tell me, those watching now, have you ever worn a mask too thin, only to be torn apart by your own clumsiness? Confess it below if you dare. And what of favoritism, this naked injustice paraded as power, when a ruler elevates one? Man not for merit but for whim, he corrupts the very illusion that holds his throne together. The herd accepts unfairness when it wears the mask of order, when it can still pretend that the game is not rigged. But show them the strings too openly, and they will gnaw through them with rage. Power thrives on carefully crafted illusions. Destroy them, and you invite conspiracy, rebellion, the silent sharpening of knives. Even tyrants must learn to hide their tyranny if they wish to keep their heads. Justice is a performance, and the wise ruler is its greatest actor. To maintain authority, one must feed the crowd the appearance of fairness, even as he moves pieces on the board to his own advantage. To abandon this theater is not strength, it is stupidity, for it unites the herd against you. The throne does not fall because of brute force, it crumbles under whispers, under murmurs of betrayal, under the collective hate of those who believed in a lie until you shattered it yourself. Remember this, no power survives long when the illusion of merit is burned to ash. So here we stand, you and I, in the age of sheep dressed as lions, where exposure is worshipped, weakness is paraded as strength, and true power has been forgotten. You have been taught to confess your sins to strangers, to bleed your emotions in public, to speak when silence would have saved you, to crave affection like a starving dog, and you wonder why you are devoured by wolves. The world does not forgive authenticity, it exploits it. The crowd does not love you, they dissect you. Only the man who protects his chaos, who keeps his storms locked behind unbreakable walls, escapes the slaughterhouse of modern virtue. Mark this final truth, and let it burn into your bones. Power is not about hiding weakness, it is about transcending the need to prove strength. The higher man does not ask for respect, he becomes inevitable. He builds a fortress of silence, he crafts his words like iron, he rules. Without shouting, without begging, without betraying himself for the herd's crumbs, you can continue as you are, naked in the square, whipped by your own transparency, or you can become untouchable. Choose. And if you still have the courage to hear truths that make the world tremble, subscribe now, comment your city below, and walk with me. The age of sheep is ending, and I am here to remind you what it means to be a lion.